Hello, Christine. Welcome to my channel. I am so excited to have you with me here today to talk about attracting your soulmate. Now, I'm so excited because I know you are a published author, you are a coach yourself, and actually, I'm going to let you introduce yourself to everyone listening. So let me pass it over to you. Please tell us who you are, what you do, and what led you down this path.
Great. Thank you so much for having me here, Mihai. I'm excited about it too. Let's see. Well, like you said, my name's Christine. I'm a life coach. I'm an author of 2 books, and I'm also a master Reiki teacher. I spent about 20 plus years of my life in abusive relationships. I knew at one point after my last relationship that it couldn't be a coincidence that these men were coming into my life. I figured out at one point that, you know what, I think I'm attracting these men in my life. So I took a break after my last relationship. I said, that's enough. I'm taking a break. I needed to learn more about myself. And through a process, I eventually met my soulmate. I became a life coach about 5 years ago. And the reason I became a life coach was because I was working every single day, wondering what my mission was in life. I had this deep, deep feeling within myself that I was supposed to do something. I just didn't know what it was. And I know a lot of people, this happens to, you know, you were meant to be something, someone, and you're just not sure. And that was my feeling. And that feeling became so, so strong that one day I came home and I just, threw myself on my bed and I started to pray to my dad. My dad died in the year 2000. And I said, Daddy, I know I'm supposed to do something. I just don't know what it is. And I really need you to show me the path, the right way. And there's no coincidences in life. I don't believe that there are. And the next day I found like a coaching program. And I knew at that point that I was supposed to take this coaching program. I didn't even know what coaching was at the time, but I took it, and that's when I learned why I kept attracting abuse in my life and why I kept attracting these types of people in my life. And I also discovered through that I had a buried dream of writing books. So, of course, I became an author, and that just opened a whole bunch of new doors for me. And that's how I became a coach, because I would do book launches and people would come to see me and say, do you do coaching? It's like, So basically, that's my journey. That's how I became a coach, and that's what I do today.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm really interesting. I'm seeing 2 pivotal moments kind of in what you just talked about in terms of, as you were going through these abusive relationships and afterwards having this moment where you kind of started realizing there was a common denominator in this situation, right? And then later on, when you took your coaching and you were able to discover, why this was happening, almost like the solution. I'm wondering if when you had that realization, if there was something that kind of led you to realize that, maybe there was something internal within you that was kind of contributing, and not in a disempowering way. And I'm saying this in an empowering way. There's something that you can influence to actually turn your situation around and find your happily ever after and your soulmate.
Mm-hmm, definitely. Well, I learned about limiting beliefs. That's that little voice that you keep hearing in the back of your mind saying that you're not good enough, or that you can't, there's all the good men are taken, or, who are you to deserve a nice relationship and a man that treats you right? So learning about limiting beliefs, what mine were, and how to actually clear those limiting beliefs really led me to finding my soulmate, definitely.
Are you open to sharing a little bit about, your personal experience with a soulmate? So you kind of, implied that you are with your soulmate. So if you're open to sharing a bit about, that journey in finding your person, and then we'll dive deeper a bit into what your thoughts are on what is a soulmate and all the good stuff and some suggestions. But what's your personal experience with soulmates that you can share with us today?
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to teach something like this and give seminars on this if I hadn't experienced it myself, and I have. I am with my soulmate today. I met Danielle in 2015. We actually went to high school together. He ended up marrying one of my friends.
Wow.
And had 3 kids, and they were married for about 20 years. And on my side, well, I married someone else. The father of my kids was with this person for 15 years as well. And we both got divorced, obviously, if we're together today. But he found me on Facebook. And that was just at the time when Facebook was really starting to be a thing. So I had just created my account and so on. So he reached out. I obviously remembered him very well. I always liked Danielle. And he invited me for coffee, which turned out to be a meal. And we had a great meal for about 3 hours. But within that conversation, I just rediscovered the person that I always liked in high school. But I also, we had so many things in common. It was unbelievable. We found out things that I couldn't explain. Like, for instance, aside from a 15-year time period where I actually moved away with my husband, my first husband, we had been together, living very, very close together within a couple of houses or a couple of blocks before I actually got married and after as well. So we could think of about 5 addresses where, I lived on Bourgeois and he lived on Bourgeois at the same time, a couple of houses apart. And even with my new residence with my kids, he was living 3 blocks away. So that was really weird. And then the weirdest thing possible for me to really know this connection was real is that he shared with me the date that he got married the first time, and it was the actual birth date of my son.
Wow.
And the date of his divorce certificate was the birth date of my daughter. So that was like, whoa, okay, kind of a funny thing, but the universe was trying to keep us together and trying to give us a sign of, you're supposed to be with this person.
So many synchronicities.
And so we've been together for 13 years now and married for 6.
That's amazing. No, congrats. And just for the ladies watching, I also want to, just kind of point out how it's the same thing in my situation, right? I found my soulmate after a first marriage too. So for the women listening who are maybe divorced, maybe feeling discouraged, maybe feeling like low self-worth and not knowing who they are anymore, just this is a message of hope at the same time, right? Let us be your expanders that, it's never too late in life. And even if you didn't get it right the first time around, that doesn't mean that you won't find your soulmate and you're happily ever after. Now, I'm just curious, Christine, how would you define soulmate? You talked a little bit about these, synchronicities that were happening and these feelings. But I'm curious to know, how would you define it? When you talk about soulmate, what do you mean exactly?
That's a really good question. And I really, truly believe that it's a person that has a deep understanding and of your life mission. This person makes you feel like you're whole. You don't need something else to make you whole. This person makes you feel like you can be yourself, your complete self. And when you're with your soulmate, you kind of have this feeling that you've known this person forever. Like, I remember being with Danielle for just like 3-4 months, and there was something, it's as if I had been forever with him for some reason. It's like a connection you can't explain. If you can get beyond what that person looks like, because for me, this is a funny thing, but Dan wasn't my type at all. We all have a type. I had these muscular men, and really, Dan wasn't like that at all. He was very shy, quite different. So I really had a hard time accepting him in my life. But I heard this voice all the time saying, hey, you wanted a white soul. You wanted, you're a white knight, a person like this in your life. So if you can just open your mind, your heart, and your soul and let yourself be loved and respected, well, magical things happen at that point. So that's how I would describe a soulmate. And I also believe that this person travels with you within several lifetimes. I know that might go against specific people's religions, and that's okay, but I do believe that we go through several lifetimes, and this soul person, this soulmate, actually travels with you throughout time.
Oh, amazing. No, and I'm glad you brought that up. Actually, having lost my father recently, it just opened my eyes to, different lifetimes and stuff like that. And I have to say, I personally am a lot more open to hearing these things now. So I'm glad you mentioned it. And I have to say, even from my own personal experience being with my husband, who I consider definitely my soulmate, I can definitely relate to when you're talking about feeling like you've known this person for a long time. I know, like, at first, when I first met my husband, for a long time, we had never spoken, and I felt like I knew him. I was just seeing this person and I'm like, I feel like I know him. I don't know his name. I don't know who he is. And we've actually had even our love story and how we got together was very accelerated. And it's hard for people to understand because we knew so little about each other, and we took big steps in our relationship with not a lot of information, but there was a deep knowing. And we're going on 9 years together now, going on 2 years married. So it's still early, but to me, like you said, it feels like it's always been there. And even the whole idea of feeling complete, like I just wanted to bring that up a little bit, because I know some people will say, you don't look for another person to be complete and whatnot. Like, I think when you're complete, you can still have another person who also completes you. I think there's like kind of this synergy with the other person. And when you find deep meaning together and purpose, like, again, you don't need another person, but you have this other person that just enhances your life even more.
Exactly. And the way that I explain is that you look at people as two circles. Like, this is me, this is Dan, and you're not supposed to, become one, as they say, but your circles are supposed to just touch lightly. So the synergy is there. If I like to, I don't know, go to my parents and have dinner every Sunday night and he doesn't, well, that's okay. If he likes to play soccer and I don't, that's okay. You just, you're free. You feel at peace and you can be yourself and just continue to do the things that you love. But these songs that you hear on the radio, you become one with this other. No, you're not supposed to become one with a person. To me, you're an individual and you're perfect in your own way. So why change that,
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up again, because when you were talking about maybe Dan not being exactly your type at the beginning, even like physically and looking past that, I mean, again, I can relate to that a lot. Whereas, if on paper, if you would look at it, my first husband would probably be the person that you would think I would match with better. And now my soulmate, looking on paper, we are a lot more different, but we've brought that that great synergy and kind of, like you were saying, a bit of that overlap that kind of, we're still unique people, and he is who he is, and I accept him, and I love that, and I learn from that at the same time, and I'm still my own person. And there's just this, it's beyond, it's like metaphysical. I don't even know how to say it. I'm getting into this woo stuff again. I can't even describe, but
I know,
I think what I mean.
It's a nice feeling. It's a nice feeling to be accepted completely and wholly for who you are, and and vice versa, because I accept him the way he is. He's a beautiful, beautiful person. So,
yeah. So now I'd like us to focus the conversation a little bit. Maybe give us your thoughts on why you believe some women might struggle to find their soulmate. And I know you were sharing a bit of your personal experience earlier on, where you talked, about limiting beliefs, and maybe there was a pattern going on there. So, if you want to build on that, or maybe share other reasons that you think why women struggle in this area.
I think a lot of it, and this is from personal experience too, is that we tend to want to control everything, right? And that's the least that I should say, that's not what you should be doing, and as far as I'm concerned, because I tried to control everything. I tried to meet those men, and, I went down dating sites and so on and so forth. But what I came to realize is that you keep attracting the same type of person when you have something to heal within yourself. So let me rephrase that, as long as you have something to heal within yourself, you will be shown that specific thing that you need to heal on a constant basis. So I think it's normal to want to meet that special person. We're human beings. We're not meant to be alone and live alone. However, if you just take a step back and just go more with the flow and ask for help. And what I mean by that is that we are surrounded by a lot of help from the universe, from our spirit guides, whatever that may be. And a lot of times we try to control everything when we have so much help available to us. When I was able to take a step back, and obviously I wrote down the things I did not want and the things I did want. And I really started to focus on those things and started to heal that pattern within myself. The pattern was that, I didn't deserve anything. I was a piece of, I won't say it on interview. Once I started to heal those parts of myself, then things happened and I was able to attract my soulmate.
That's so powerful. Yeah, no, thanks for being open and sharing about that and being vulnerable. And also just from one thing I'd like to add, just a perspective, I know for myself, one of the things I often say is that it's not just about attracting your soulmate either. So once you attract your soulmate, there's still work in the relationship and everything. And I've talked a lot recently just on my own social media channels about not being totally healed and being able to attract my soulmate regardless of that. And just to clarify, just to add to that, I think like when you were talking about your experience, you had this awareness, or you got this awareness of what was going on, and the pattern was repeating itself. And I know from my perspective, I say a lot of times I wasn't completely healed, but one thing I was able to do was detach from the unhealed wounds to the point where they weren't influencing as much my behaviors or my patterns. Like, I think if you can still, and maybe that wouldn't be the situation or the recommendation for everyone, but if there are ways, and maybe I was very good at compartmentalizing it, but I was able to kind of still get there. And for me, I had to do a lot of the healing work after. And continue to do some of the healing work. So just wanted to throw that perspective in.
Absolutely. It makes a lot of sense. The healing part for me started before I met my soulmate, but it actually continued within the relationship because a lot of things kept popping up. And
I discovered new things.
Definitely.
You discover new things sometimes too, right? Even.
Yes.
Yeah. So what is one piece of advice that you can give to women who are looking to find their soulmate? What's the one thing maybe they can start doing today and implementing in their daily life that will help them on their journey?
Gosh, I can give so much advice, but just one thing that really, really helped me, take a step back. And I would say visualize. I'm a big believer in the law of attraction. I know that it works. I've done this. I've attracted a million things in my life. And visualization is very, very popular. Not popular, rather, but powerful. Sorry. Visualization is very powerful. And one thing that I can give advice on is really to, take out your dream board and start visualizing the type of person that you want in your life, because you're not going to find your soulmate by going out there and finding him. You're going to attract him to you. So that's how I would do it. Definitely. That would be my piece of advice.
Absolutely. One of the things too, like I have to admit, that is a technique I also used a lot. So visualization, and just even to add to that, when I was visualizing, one of the things that helped me even more was to really feel the feeling. So I wasn't only thinking the thought of my soulmate, but I was really feeling how I would feel with that person too. And I know that like the more I focused on that and the more, it was easy to continue that visualization in a way because the feelings were so good. I'm like, I just want to go sit down. I just want to go visualize and feel like my soulmate. And then the more I did that, I definitely saw an acceleration into actually getting that desire fulfilled.
Exactly. I mean, visualization is about aligning your thoughts, your emotions, and you put all that together and you really focus, because what you focus on grows. So it goes, the opposite is true too. If you start focusing on, I'm never going to meet my soulmate, I'm never going to, I'm going to be single all my life. Well, that's what you're focusing on. So that's what you'll get. So you need to switch it around and think the other way, more positive.
Definitely, definitely. This was awesome. This was so full of good information. I appreciate you so much for coming on. I know the ladies who are watching are going to want to know where they can find you, what you have going on. So please let us know where you are on the internet, where they can find you, and if you have anything right now that might be of interest to the people, to the women listening to us today.
Great, great. Yeah, it was my pleasure to be on, Mireille. I love this. Well, you can find me on Facebook. I have a page called Peaceful Warrior Healing Center. And my website is the same name, Peaceful Warrior Healing Center. I have a couple of workshops coming up. One may be of interest. It's called Heart Reboot, How to Attract Your Soulmate. And that's coming up on January 21st. And I also have another workshop on February 11th, which is more on why you keep attracting the same type of person in your life. So we're talking about limiting beliefs and so on. And that's called Connect to Your Higher Self to find true joy, love, and peace in your life.
Amazing. All right. Well, I'm going to put all the links to that in the description below, so it's easy for the ladies listening to find that. So again, thank you so much. This was wonderful, and I hope to have you on again.
My pleasure. Thank you, Mireille.